Because each fire chief is ultimately responsible, and we have mutual aid agreements and stuff like that with outside the municipality, but within the municipality, we've got other geographic. So if we're going to keep it this way, we've got a lot of work when it comes to bylaws, just so we have agreements within our own environment, right?
I think the agreements are in place. They're made.
Are they? Well, it was brought up here, and it was mentioned that we have to redo our bylaws, right? I mean, we have agreements, and they just tied over from the floor, just stuff like that. So it's all about communication. I think it's important that we manage to put a place where our 5 chiefs, and we can ask them the questions, what do you need from us to be able to fulfill the obligations within the acts? And instead of going through it 5 times, it would be nicer for us to be able to do it once.
I think that Chief Janet, do you know about, or Carol, about the bylaws? I don't want to put anybody in place, but we do have all.
We have the bylaws for structuring or setting up of the departments. Now, as far as having bylaws within our specific land and shores, I think because they're charged with the duty of protecting in their designated area, it would be no different than a mutual aid or automatic aid situation where the one from that area is the designate and somebody would come in to help and assist. So we have the authorities within land and shores.
Okay.
Respectfully, if I may, Mayor, is that you're one municipality. You have 5 fire departments. All 5 can offer different services. So, Grand Bend, I'm surmising here, Grand Bend does water rescue. Okay?
Well, no.
Okay, well,
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Grand Bend does water rescue. Arcona doesn't have any body of water. When somebody falls into a big pond or something like that. Okay. So, Grand Bend's operating guidelines say that they can go and rescue people in water. Are your residents of Arcona going to say, hang on a second, I have this large body of water, but Arcona can't do that. So that's why we're saying you have to define your core services. So now you're going to have to take your core services and define them down almost by area. If you continue with 5 fire departments, you're going to have to say, do the firefighters in Arcona have the same training as the firefighters in Grand Bend? If they don't have that same training, they don't have those same SOGs, then can they respond? And you have, we talk about communication. That's a big part of communication. You strategically with 5 fire stations and 5 fire departments through your municipality, there may not be an area that is 20 minutes drive before a fire station or fire department gets there. But if you were in northern rural Ontario, we would tell you, your municipality is 60 kilometers long. Your fire station is 35 kilometers before it gets to that person. You're going to have to tell that person you're not going to be able to save them. They can't expect your firefighters to get there and do interior suppression. The best that they can do is surround and protect the exterior buildings. So Mr. Resident 35 kilometers away, you need to do that public education and fire safety. You need to make sure that you've got working smoke alarms and that you understand. So by having 5 fire departments and perhaps 5 different levels of service, you're going to make your SOGs and SOPs need to say land and shores, and you're going to designate where those people are going to go and the services that we can provide.
Which means somebody who has to control those SOGs.
Right. You don't need to have separate agreement with Grand Bend and Arcona or Grand Bend and Forest or whatever the case is. You're the Lambton Shores Fire Department. Singular with 5 stations.
Councilor Russell.
Yeah, and I think that's why I keep going back to the risk assessment. A couple of weeks ago, I went with Jeff to a risk assessment in terms of insurance and risk. And it wasn't just the insurance, it was what is risk. And due diligence is the key. If we don't do our due diligence, right, then you can't really make an assessment of the risk. And I think this is a starting point of doing that. And the interesting part about that thing about the internal is the fact of mutual aid agreement, which you say ours need redoing. They're not wrong. They just, during amalgamation, sideways and whatever, and we would do that. That's with an external corporate body. But inside our corporate body, it's the SOGs and the policies and procedures that need to make sure that they're dovetailed continually. One of the interesting parts administratively of that is that becomes almost semi-confusing. You almost have to do it. So there has to be a central coordinating factor under before our CEO left. The fact is he was the coordinating factor amongst the 5 chiefs. Am I correct about that, Janet? So he was the coordinator, the central coordinator. So in fact, we may have 5 silos, but in fact, the amalgamation we did, we made one fire department when we did amalgamation. Albeit it is still silo-ized, but they aren't complete silos. It's the fact that they are now, because of the SOGs and the different things, right? It's just administratively awkward, the communication, there's a bunch of things. We amalgamated those into one department in 2007. That's the humor about it, Marty. That's the risk assessment. This is the bad humor about it is the fact is they were amalgamated into one because we're one municipality. We don't have 5 fire bylaws. We have 5 fire departments, right? We have one bylaw. It may need to be upgraded, it may need to be, but we have one bylaw. That's what we're missing out on. We don't separate, each of those departments don't separate, we don't have a Grand Bend fire bylaw, do we? We have one central budget, right? Everybody, each of the chiefs brings their stuff to the table and all that. What we did is we created a central fire department and we just kept our 5 separate stations. What we're finding out now is it creates, as time goes on, it creates more problems because of the fact it's layered. It's bureaucratically almost nightmarish in a way, right? You don't have that full centralized authority. You aren't doing your risk assessment in terms of certain things that would matter if it's fire safety. I mean, it was just explained to us. This is no different than what we had 30 years ago. We had a similar report from the fire marshal telling us the same thing. What we've done is we've gone 9/10 of the way toward that. And we've done a really good job considering the answer we just got to Elizabeth's question. Who still has it? Not many. Well, we still do. Is ours not working well? No, it's working very well. We're reviewing something right now. And I think that's the important part about this. It's not a negative. This is a positive to get the risk assessment done and figure out what are the next steps to that. If in fact one of those steps, Mr. Mayor, is a review of the governance and whatever, we do that. But I think Marty's idea, Councillor Underwood, excuse me, talk to the chiefs. They can tell you how well we are doing, as we're doing the review, how well and what resources are needed to be able to apply to whatever it is, what's fire inspection stuff, right? Oh, they're being done so well, but we could improve it by this much. You know, that's what the assessment, you talk to the people and you know. I mean, we're just surmisers here. We don't know. We don't know.
Councillor Munson?
I just have because I think Councillor Russell has hit it on the head. I think we have to separate governance from operations. And I guess being on the board, what I have seen is I almost think sometimes our fire services are subjected to a double political whammy. They get the one political fire board meeting and then it has to come to council for a second political decision. So my question to you, sir, is in your experience, we're no longer exempt. If the water in our municipality isn't drinkable, we're culpable. We can be sued. Has it been your experience in Ontario, being a now litigious society, are we finding members of council being sued because the core services in one area were lacking or inadequate or ineffective or inefficient?
I would respectfully suggest that there are potential lawsuits that communities and residents have made inquiries. Quite frequently we get inquiries about fire services in municipalities, and our very standard response is you need to talk to municipal government because they're the ones who set the level of service.
But the fire chief is the ultimate person that is responsible for
To council.
For fire protection services.
Council, if I may just comment on some of these conversations that's going on. We used to talk, 30 years ago, we used to talk to the fire chiefs. We used to tell them, you know, this is what you need. We're changing that continuum. We're now coming to council and speaking to council because council, as I alluded to earlier, you are ultimately responsible. You are the risk managers. It is your fire service, not the fire department. You know, 30 years ago, when I started my career in the fire service, we were all doing our job for the best of the community. As you've indicated, we become a little bit more litigious, we become a little bit more stringent in operation guidelines. but councils are the ones who are responsible